runners, here's why you should do post-run recovery, to keep you ready to run. Really, it's that simple. So we warm up to prepare the body for running, and then you want to post-run recovery to keep the body ready to run again. So 2 things we like to include in our post-run recovery is just body weight work first to get the elasticity back in the hips, then some light stretching, and then of course you can play with all the toys. So we did a whole video, by the way, on the recovery exercises that we recommend, and it's really short and simple. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to go through it very quickly, but the same exercise that we do in the warm-up, which is the seated hip opener, start doing this right after you finish running. You just put your hips through a lot. They just went running, and they have to stay in a stable position. So actually doing this right after, allowing them to rotate, allows that relaxing, what you want from stretching, right? To release the muscle, allows that to start. So that's the first thing I do. And then I want to work into getting the elasticity back in my hip. So this is a very simple exercise, but you're going to do the same hip lift that you do in the warm-up. So again, realize that we're recovering very similar to how we warmed up. Make sure you can activate that glute. Again, go through the recovery video, but I added in the straight leg hip lift, which really mimics your running position when you're on the ground. Here's my head, here's my hips, right? And obviously there's no ground under my feet, but just to feel that, if you press your feet and your head into the ground, you should feel your hips lift. So again, we're talking to that hip. And what you're going to do next is bring your knees in, hands around, and you're going to resist as you press out. So what you're doing is you're reactivating the glutes and putting the elasticity back into the hip. And notice we went all the way around the hip, right? We did the openers, and then we did the glutes, then we came up, outer hip, inner hip, and now the front. So I call that going around the world. So please watch that video. But now I have the elasticity back in my hips, and I'm like, now you can stretch. Now you can roll. Now you can play with the toys because now your hips are ready. So you can do any stretches you want. We have a ton, again, in our YouTube channel. So let me just give you one example. Half butterfly, great stretch. Is it the only stretch? No, but it's a good one. So half butterfly. See, first thing you do is do that little butterfly. And what you want to make sure is the hip is open and can do a full range. So my knee can stay down. If it cannot, that's okay. It's one of those like, oh, that's interesting, rather than I'm going to force it. And then I want you to look ahead. Just like you're running, can I get my ears, shoulders, hips lifted? Can I lift my line? See, this is what you want when you run, to hold that line lifted and the hip stays stable. So see how my knee popped up? So I'm aware of that. So I'm going to reset, talk to it, lift. See, that's the best part about recovery, is I've already done the work, so I can spend more time communicating. And then if I can feel, wow, my hip is really not excited about holding stiff or holding steady, maybe it's a little bit stiff, then that tells me, okay, I need to add in some extra work on the hip. See, this is how you start to communicate with your body. So it's not that there's one perfect stretch. You know, same like the pigeon. I love this stretch. A lot of us do this afterwards. And then it's the same thing. Can I square my shoulders? Can I lift up? These are the kinds of things that like you want to start communicating with, because what you're trying to do ultimately, right, is make sure the hip is free to be able to move during your run. So after you've done the elasticity work, then you can start working around that range of motion, the stretching, the mobility work, and then sure, if you've got toys, use them. So I love this. I use this. We have links to all this. I use the Accumobility roller. I use this guy. I just got it, Strong Tech. But I want to show you guys something. This is something, 2 things I've had for probably 20 years plus. So one of them, I think you can still get this, by the way, on Amazon. But look, you're supposed to put your foot on it and do scrunches. And then this is a board of wood, a plank of wood that I got. And you were supposed to just find anything that you could put your foot on and support to stretch the calf and soleus. So I've been using all this stuff for years and years. So all this thing is so I can do both feet at the same time, right? And then for foot exercises, I normally just do toe scrunches. But I have used this, like I said, for about 20 years plus. I just started using this about a month ago, and it's so easy to use. So I was like, well, I can recommend both. You can create yourself one, just anything you can do to put body weight on and hold, or you can look at this link we have. But stretching is a really important part of recovery, of being ready to run. The most important part is the range of motion aspect, because what you're really doing is, what I want is for my body to be able to move through a full range of motion. And so being able to recover after a run, warm up before a run, that's what keeps you moving, you know? So same thing with the foam rolling. If you're gonna do body, I always tell people, we have a whole section on foam rolling, of course. So if you start to just play with the roller, like after you've done you've got your elasticity back, you've done some stretching, then you can play around with the roller. Most people immediately go to like the tightest spot they have, calves, so you run. But I'm just here to remind you that I really, really recommend, you know, targeting at least each body part if you can, 20 to 30 seconds, 20 to 30 rolls. Really get all of your body parts, even if they don't hurt. Like they don't have to hurt for you to want to recover, right? To roll out and recover. You know, you used them all. Running works every single muscle in the body, right? So I've been using this actual roller close to 10 years. And when I first got it, I wasn't into foam rolling, to be honest. I was not a fan of foam rolling or stretching. Like most runners, it's not pleasant, it's painful. And so actually the guy sent it to me. It's an Accumobility roller. And I called him and I said, this is terrible, it hurts. I think that I'm not gonna be a good person to use this roller. And he wrote back and he said, well, to be honest, that's how tight you are. Like your movement is, I can see it's limited on your videos. And I took that to heart. I thought, you know, he's really just trying to help me. So I can tell you with full certainty, I've been on this roller for over 10 years, full 10 years at least. And nothing hits your hips like it. I recommend it so highly. What is foam rolling actually doing? How is it part of my recovery? Honestly, what it does is it really helps to break through scar tissue if you have any, help you open up all the areas that need to be open. Really not just for running, but just for overall movement. So I highly recommend go through that recovery. We have a short recovery video on those little exercises that I just showed you. If you get gadgets, get them and use them. This thing is effective only if I use it. Same with this. Like I've been using this for so long. I only bought this because I started using it and I can feel how much easier it is. It's a lot easier to be on both feet at one time than to do one foot at a time. So I will use this when? Probably daily, at least once a day, probably right after my run. So absolutely, after I do my recovery exercises, do a little bit of rolling, I'm gonna get on this guy. So guys, use the protocol of that recovery. Like I said, I've been using it for 20 plus years. Everything that I use, I've used for so long. That's how I know it works, because every day I feel good and I get up and I go running and I'm excited to go running. So please warm up, do your drills, do your post-run recovery. If you try this, let us know how it goes. We really enjoy that you're commenting. And of course, thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, please share. We now have an app, it's free, and we're gonna try to put as much of this on there so you don't have to watch ads and can get all your information in one spot. So thank you guys again.